Hello, a very good evening. Welcome to ITV News and to Friday night's calendar.
Hello, these are tonight's main stories.
Crumbling schools, some potentially unsafe buildings in our region built from weak concrete are named. A nursery used as a feeder for one of them is worried.
If they're leaving our preschool room to go to a school where there's no continuality there, it's going to be really, really disturbing for them.
Turbulent times, how traders close to Doncaster Sheffield Airport are hopeful for the future, despite a descent in profits since the runway shut.
The accommodation's probably 25-30% down year on year, and that's what we would expect with the volume of airline traffic that we actually did last year.
Pet crisis, the Sheffield Cat Rescue Centre that's struggling to cope as more people give up their pets due to the cost of living.
And I'm at the 40th annual Chatsworth Country Fair, where the fun never stops.
Hello, thanks very much for joining us. Now, first tonight, the potential of major disruption for school pupils in our region, as more than 100 buildings across the country were told to partially or fully close because of weak concrete used in their construction.
With most schools due to open next week after the summer break, the government has been urged to publish a full list of the affected schools, built with a lightweight type of concrete. Some are now at risk of collapse.
4 schools in our region are among those confirmed as being affected, but more could emerge and there's confusion about what will happen to pupils next week. Helen Steele reports.
Are we ready? Steady, go!
Having fun building sandcastles today, but it's the buildings children here are due to move into that's cause for concern at this nursery.
It's going to be really, really disturbing for them.
The nursery in West Yorkshire sends many children to Crossflats Primary, and just days before they're due to attend for the first time, their school was deemed unsafe. The only way for it to stay open is to close its kitchen and create temporary classrooms.
I think that's going to be very daunting for them. We've nurtured them in the nursery and we've prepared them for going to school. So it's been hard for them leaving us as well because they've been here since they were babies.
Down the road in Eldwick, parts of the makeshift classrooms were still being delivered. Plans as to how to allocate children amongst them still up in the air. Well, this school is one affected by the government announcement that all schools built with a type of concrete known as RAAC have to take immediate action to make their buildings safe. It's left many people wondering just why the announcement was made this week, days before the start of a new school year.
The only thing you've got to ask yourself is if they found out in 2018 this was a problem across the country, why has it taken 5 years to actually respond? I know they're undergoing 50 odd schools already, but the other 100, why has it taken 5 years to actually react to this problem, which could have been catastrophic?
The Department for Education first identified RAAC or RAC as a potential hazard liable to collapse in 2018. Earlier this year, Abbey Lane Primary in Sheffield raised concerns about it, but like other schools, its head teacher was only told this week that a new government policy on the material meant any rooms which contained it had to be vacated. The government says it has been taking action since 2018, but dealing initially only with critical cases.
What emerged over the summer was a number of cases in schools and in England and outside England and in commercial buildings where RAC that was considered to be safe actually turned out not to be safe.
Unions say this is a short-term fix and what schools need is a long-term solution.
There clearly needs to be a massive level of investment in school buildings. This government has ignored the state of school buildings throughout its time in office. It's not put the money in that's needed. And now there's an urgent problem. So we need the government to commit to the billions of pounds that are needed.
For those who'll be taking their first steps into school next week, it certainly won't be the clean start they'd hoped for.
And Helen Steele's with us in the studio now. Obviously, this is going to cause huge disruption, Helen. And another school added to the list this afternoon.
Yes, North Yorkshire Council has confirmed that Scolby School in Scarborough was built using RAC, and today in a letter to parents the head teacher said there would be major disruption. He said it will not now open until September the 11th, a week on Monday, to give time to reorganise the school curriculum and work with contractors, and that will affect 1,000 pupils.
It's not the best timing to find out, is it really? You've been talking to parents and to schools today, and they've said that the messaging from the government is a bit confusing.
Yes, well, this morning we believed that 6 schools in our region were affected, but we have had confirmation from Leeds City Council that none of their schools have been affected. Now, in Bradford, specialist surveyors were sent out to 46 schools, and in the 2 that have been confirmed to have RAC, teaching will continue with alterations made to the safe areas, so children can continue to learn there. But we don't know how long work will continue, and we heard today that it could take years to be put right.
It's a big issue. Thanks very much indeed, Helen, for bringing us up to date there.
Thank you. There's renewed optimism about the future of Doncaster Sheffield Airport ahead of fresh talks about council plans to buy the site.
A compulsory purchase of the former RAF base at Fidingley is expected to be high on the agenda for the council when the Cabinet meets later this month.
But the authority is still hoping to agree a lease with owners Peel Group to enable another operator to run the airport. Here's Michael Billington.
Across some of the busiest weeks of the year for holidaymakers, a notable absence of aircraft sound in the skies over Doncaster Sheffield Airport.
It feels pretty sad, and it feels pretty sad for the people that put a significant portion of their lives into trying to make this work.
Hangars and warehouses at the site in South Yorkshire now stand empty, 10 months since the final flight touched down on the tarmac. But there remains a glimmer of optimism.
It feels a little bit like we've been a bit knocked back recently in Doncaster. And actually we've got to gather ourselves together now. We've got to acknowledge those that we've lost a couple of things, but we've got to gather ourselves back up and look at where are those opportunities and now try and focus on moving forwards.
There's little doubt it's been a challenging time for businesses. Room bookings at the Crown Hotel are down by almost 30%. It used to be popular with flight crews. Now they've been forced to refocus their business on attracting diners and weddings instead.
It's been really, really hard, and you've got to think on your feet. We've been taking every day as it comes, but beyond no illusion, this has been the hardest year of my 30-odd years that I've actually been involved in this industry.
The council hopes to strike a deal with the current owners to lease out the site to another operator in the near future. Now, business leaders insist despite the airport not turning a profit in its 17-year history, there are still plenty of investors who could make it work.
The quality of the organisations that are still sniffing around this airport, still interested in partnering with South Yorkshire, is really quite impressive, and they would not be expressing that interest if they did not believe this could be an airport that in the fullness of time has 5-10 million passengers a year and has a great freight operation.
Even with new investors, it's thought it could take years before this airport is back up and running. But the financial impact of that, they say, would be something worth waiting for. Michael Billington, ITV News in Doncaster.
Well, thanks for being with us for Friday's calendar, and still to come on the programme, digging it down at Chatsworth, all the fun of the fair, from the heavens to the horseshoes.
And if you've been waiting for 7 weekends for high pressure to be in charge, well, this weekend is your weekend. It's settling down and warming up. I've got all the detail a little later on.
A fundraising event has been set up to help 2 families who lost their homes in a fire in Doncaster on Wednesday. 8 fire crews from across Yorkshire tackled the blaze on Broad Lane in the village of Sykehouse, which destroyed 2 properties. The event takes place later this month.
We're a community, we support each other, and horrible things happen and we need to come together as a community.
Sheffield Cat Shelter says it's looking after nearly double the amount of cats it has capacity for after a surge in cats being dropped off or abandoned there.
Yes, it says that soaring energy and food costs as well as rising vet bills has led to the problem, and it's urging people to get in touch before they go to the extreme of abandoning their pets. Adam Fowler reports.
This cat shelter in Sheffield can house around 20 cats, but at the moment it's host to nearly double that.
Cashew here was brought to the shelter about a month ago. His owner simply couldn't cope with rising costs, and it's a situation that the shelter is seeing more and more often.
Really, it's been picking up this sort of incident over the last year and a half, I'd say, of people abandoning cats. We've had cats abandoned outside supermarkets, cats found in woodland, locked in a cat carrier, and increasingly cats either brought to our shelter or left on the doorsteps, left in a bag.
Many of these pets have been beloved companions for years, but the shelter says the soaring cost of living has led to many pet owners making heartbreaking choices.
They might have a family of their own to feed, and then they're struggling to do that, and then they're hit with a big vet bill, or they've got cat food bills, and they're faced with tough decisions. So I think the cost of living crisis is making a big impact on cat owners, on cats, and on shelters like us.
A few years ago, Alison set up a pet food bank for those struggling to feed their animals. She too has seen demand soar and already has provided more pet food this year than in the whole of 2022.
Anecdotally, what kind of stories are your service users telling you?
It's so bad. You know, they're having to cook food for themselves on a campfire stove because they can't afford to put the oven on, so they're having noodles on a campfire stove. I've had people that have attended that they've been feeding their animals, their dogs, biscuits that are crunched up with gravy on because they can't afford to feed them anything else. So a lot of people are really, really struggling.
All this comes at a time when donations are a fraction of what they once were and costs are rising too. The cat shelter can spend more than £10,000 a month on vet bills alone. With no more room, they're urging animal lovers to adopt or foster, and for struggling owners to get in touch so that maybe they can help before anyone needs to say goodbye to a family friend. Adam Fowler, ITV News, Sheffield.
Oh, breaks your heart, doesn't it? The RSPCA has issued a warning to all anglers to exercise caution after injuries caused to animals by angling litter almost doubled in the summer months.
The charity received more than 1,000 calls about fishing litter across England and Wales last year alone, and more than 140 of those calls were made right here in our region. And they were all about debris like old lines and barbed hooks being left lying around. Well, Amrit Birdie reports.
Fishing is a much-loved hobby and even saw a rise in popularity during the COVID pandemic. But last summer, the RSPCA reported a rise in animal injuries as a direct result of litter left behind after fishing. In the canal on Hostingley Lane in Dewsbury in West Yorkshire, a tawny owl was found wrapped up in fishing line and dangling dangerously from a tree. Last year alone, there were 141 calls made to the RSPCA in Yorkshire and Humberside about animals affected by fishing litter. Now, the charity is calling for change.
Any sort of birds associated with the water, they can get tangled up in the line. Unfortunately, sometimes this line can tangle so tightly that it cuts off the blood supply. Hooks are swallowed, particularly if they've still got bait attached to the end. Most anglers are out there being very responsible, but unfortunately there are some that don't, and it's just hugely important because there's animals that are losing their lives to this.
Data from last year showed the number of wildlife injuries increased during the summer months, when more people are taking up outdoor activities, such as fishing, for the first time. And it's thought that inexperienced anglers could be largely responsible for the litter, with the Angling Trust insisting that most people are considerate of wildlife when they fish.
Lots of people out there enjoying our beautiful countryside, and that's when we see a lot of new people coming enjoying fishing for the first time. As a result of that, they might get some line snagged in a tree or in some vegetation, and they're not quite sure what to do with it. Any old line, old spools, which is kind of what the line comes on, can be sent off to be recycled so it doesn't go to landfill. I think it's 81 million metres of line have been recycled, so that can go around the world twice.
All anglers are urged to follow the Take 5 campaign, which involves taking 5 items of litter home or spending 5 minutes removing litter after fishing. It's thought this small change could have a big impact when it comes to reducing the danger for our wildlife. Amrit Birdie, ITV News.
Watching calendar, and the ITV Evening News continues here at 6:30. Here's a look at what's happening with Romilly Weeks.
The race to replan the start of the school term. With growing uncertainty for parents and teachers, the government is urged to release the full list of schools affected by crumbling concrete. Also, the sharpest fall in house prices for 14 years. Could they tumble further still? And calls for the return of Welsh treasures amid security woes at the British Museum. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
We will, Romilly. Thank you very much indeed. Now, a scheme to help people in West Yorkshire with learning disabilities get into work is bucking the trend as it's seen record numbers of students get jobs. Nationally, only 6% of those with a learning disability are in employment.
But a massive 70% of students who complete Project Search at Bradford College go on to secure paid work. One graduate of the scheme whose autism has just got a brand new job at one of the region's biggest hospitals. Sally Simpson reports.
Joe was so good at his practical training at Bradford Royal Infirmary that they created a job just for him. Fresh from graduating from college, he's about to become a theatre assistant. He says it's more than he ever hoped for.
It's a nice little learning experience that helped me break out what I was. It helped me grow. Just a small shell that really fractured open. Talking to people, helping them out, seeing where they need to improve, and just have a good time with them as well. Make sure they learn what's good and what's bad, what to do, what not to do. All the simple stuff of a working environment.
Proud mum Susan says she never anticipated her son's success.
Never in a million years, if you'd have seen him in school, not in a million years. He always needed one-to-one, whereas now I know I can let him go on his own, and it's changed. It's helped me. He got intern of the year as well, so he did amazing. And to hear him stand up and speak when he's never done that before, like today, it's been really good.
Joe is one of several students with learning disabilities to secure work after following a combination of classroom study and hands-on training provided by the partnership between Bradford College and the NHS.
Bradford in particular has always achieved really good outcomes for our young people and getting our young people into clinical roles. And we know that once someone like Joe does it, we can hopefully get a lot more young people with those skill set to come in the future.
So there are lots of businesses out there that will employ people with learning disabilities. They are employable with the right support. They're very loyal, dedicated young people that just want to work and contribute and be included in society.
Those working alongside Joe at Bradford Royal Infirmary say he's certainly all those things.
Top lad. Yeah, really good lads. And the way that I've seen his confidence grow in the time that I've known him has been amazing.
Joe and others like him have a bright future ahead. Sally Simpson, ITV News, Bradford.
Oh, we wish Joe all the very best, don't we?
Good luck with the job.
Now, time for some sport, and it's transfer deadline day.
Zero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
On the last day for clubs to make their deals in this transfer window, among the flurry of sales and loans in the Premier League, Manchester City's James McAtee has rejoined Sheffield United on loan, seen here scoring for the Blades earlier this year in the Championship.
And staying with the Blades, they'll be in search of their first point in the Premier League tomorrow. The Blades take on fellow strugglers Everton at Bramall Lane in the lunchtime kick-off. Both teams have lost their opening 3 games, but head coach Paul Heckingbottom says he'd love to pick up a win in front of their own fans.
We're building towards what we want to be. So it's going to be no less challenging, just a different type of opposition. I've seen all of Everton's games, and we know we're playing against a team who's, not won a league game yet. But that's not through want of trying, and they've certainly been imposing themselves on the game, and we know it's going to be a tough game.
To the Championship, and Leeds United welcome Sheffield Wednesday to Elland Road tomorrow afternoon. Wednesday are bottom of the Championship and the only team in the Football League without a point to their name. They travel to Elland Road looking to turn their fortunes around. Leeds boss Daniel Farke could well be without Colombian international Luis Sinisterra for tomorrow's game. According to some reports, he's closing in on a move to Premier League Bournemouth. Farke said he'll be relieved when the transfer window finally closes tonight.
I'm looking forward to have the international break and some quieter days. That's definitely for sure. And the telephone is not ringing the whole day and 1,000 messages per day, and have to think about training and the next game, but also about potential incomings and watch players and be in touch with so many people. So it's exhausting, but I'm not complaining.
I know what is the important game for us. It's important. It's a good game. I know it's for our fans. It's important, and I'm sure our team, because if one thing show me these players, if they give 100%, they have it.
And in boxing, Dave Allen will make his return to the ring this weekend. The heavyweight from Doncaster takes on Olympic champion Fraser Clark tomorrow night. It'll be Dave's first big fight since stepping away from the sport in 2019. But he says he's having sparred with Clark in the past. He knows his opponent's strengths and weaknesses.
I've known him a very long time. I've known him since 2012. We've done a lot of rounds together. I know what he's capable of. He's a very good fighter. I've been out for a long time. I know it's a difficult ask for me, but I expect to win. 100% I expect to win. I wouldn't be here if not.
So it's the last weekend of the school summer holidays, Kerry. Is it going to be good?
Yeah, it's looking quite promising. Of course, there's a little bit of sadness in my heart because it's the 1st of September today, so I start talking about autumn. So I sort of said goodbye to summer, sort of.
Just don't talk about it.
Yeah. You don't need to have a barbecue.
I've got to talk about
weather.
It's what I do. It was a big disappointment first thing this morning, and it did definitely look a little bit more seasonal and autumnal. So thanks very much to Dyes Dahlias for brightening up the shot there. But I want to show you a couple of shots from Lady Power. This one is by Patricia, who's a local, and also this one from Bob, who is a visitor. Now, they both look really nice, really summery, but both of them saying that pretty much a couple of minutes after the photograph was taken, there was an absolute downpour, and that kind of felt like the last couple of months of summer. That's what it was, very mixed. Yeah. Of course, we had June, flaming June, very warm. We had about 18 days of dry, very warm weather, and then we had wet. July was very wet, and then the last month, August, a bit meh, nothing really happened, did it? So yes, mixed overall for our summer. A lot of people disappointed, but it was actually pretty warm. For the UK as a whole, it was the 8th warmest on record, and that's from records going back to 1887. And for our patch, most of the Yorkshire counties were around 11, or between 10 and 14th warmest. So still pretty impressive compared to the 140-year records. So yes, flaming June, I think, is what we'll remember from this summer. From summer to winter storms, the Met Office have issued their winter storm names. So Agnes will be our first winter storm. I'm sure I'll be talking a lot more about that. No storms over the next few days. It's looking really settled as we head into the weekend, and of course the forecast a little later on.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Finally, what better way to mark the end of summer than taking in the sights and sounds of an annual event at one of our stately homes?
Well, that's what thousands of people did in Chatsworth today as they marked the start of its 40th annual country fair. Amelia Beckett was there to soak up the action.
It's got dogs jumping in water, horses jumping on land, and owls resting on hands. Welcome to the first day of the Chatsworth Country Show. And who better to declare it open than the greenest of fingers?
I love Chatsworth, and I love the Chatsworth Country Fair, and this part of the Derbyshire Dales, next to Yorkshire, just the most glorious county and the most glorious scenery. And this is a great celebration of country life and country people.
Thousands of people streamed through the grounds of this historic site, ready for the start of its 40th year. Here to enjoy dancing diggers, colourful parachutes, a Spitfire fly past.
And of course, it wouldn't be a fair without a merry-go-round.
Loving it. Everyone's so friendly, so much to see, good food. Really enjoying it.
Yeah, I think the greenery is great. It's just being nice and out in nature, isn't it?
Stunning backdrop, isn't it? And then everything's going around with the parachutists and the flyovers and everything. It's a really good day, really interesting.
What beautiful place.
Dog friendly.
What beautiful place. If you don't come for the show, you can have a look around the grounds, you can see all these people, it's lovely. And of course the Duke and the Duchess are nice people as well. We've met them a few times, so it's nice.
Some even get recruited here. Chatsworth local Abby joined the King's Troop 10 years ago after seeing them here at the country show.
I come to Chatsworth every year anyway, but the troop were actually here, and it just kind of solidified that I did want to join the King's Troop, so Yeah.
So what's it like coming back here then? It's like coming home?
Yeah, it's good. I was actually really excited about this one.
It's a tradition that goes back decades, and with 2 more days on offer, plenty more for everyone to enjoy. Amelia Beckett, ITV News, Chatsworth.
Good day out there, definitely.
Yeah, and good to see Alan Titchmarsh on the programme tonight.
Oh, yeah, talking about Yorkshire.
Absolutely. Well, let's get the weather now. That wonderful weather for the weekend from Kerry.
Good visibility on the horizon. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello again. The weekend is almost upon us, definitely looking a lot prettier than it did first thing this morning. A lot of low cloud, patchy rain and drizzle to start the day after slowly brightening, but looking a lot more like summer as we head into the next couple of days with high pressure building. Morning mist and fog, yes, but mostly dry over the next few days with some warm sunny spells. We lose the low pressure, high pressure builds throughout tomorrow, and it's either over us or nearby us as we head into the next couple of days. Perhaps just a sea breeze developing from Wednesday onwards. As we head through into this evening and overnight tonight, chance of a shower. Cloud building again throughout the night, a lot of low cloud over the hills once more, so a cloudy, mild, misty, murky theme for many again as we head into the early hours, but that's not how things will stay as we head into the weekend. 6:16 and 7:55 are your sun times for tomorrow. The morning mist and fog will lift during the morning and into the afternoon and especially the evening. It will become largely dry with clear spells. So in the sunshine around 22 or 23 Celsius, just an outside chance of a shower, most likely down towards parts of South Yorkshire and the Peak District. As we head through into Sunday, again, morning mist and fog perhaps, but as we head through into the afternoon, perhaps bright rather than sunny at all times, but there will be some sunshine and it will feel warm in the sunny spells, 23 or perhaps 24 Celsius. As we head into the new working week, it stays dry. There will be plenty of sunshine, just those sea breezes from midweek onwards.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
There you go, dry and settle. We'll take that, won't we?
Definitely.
Yeah,
barbecue on Sunday.
Yeah, that's a good way to end the summer holidays, I think.
Definitely,
Yeah.
that's it. Well, you have a lovely weekend. We'll enjoy the weather and we'll see you again next week. Have a great weekend.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.